Hello there, and welcome to this week's edition of Money Matters, because after all, as you know, I believe money truly does matter. Now, to be clear, as always, it's not about the money, it's about the choices that money gives you. Do you want to look after your loved ones? Do you want to pay for an operation for your mum? Do you want to take the kids on holiday? Do you want to give some money towards an orphanage in Cambodia? It's the choices it gives you. I want to focus on the advice I would give to a 20-year-old who came to me and said, I want to be wealthy. Now, I believe I'm qualified to give that advice for a few reasons. Number one, I've been a property investor for 40 years now. Bought my first flat, 269A Roman Road, East Ham, at the age of 18. Nobody gave me any money to do that. I worked my backside off when I was 17 to be able to do it. I've gone on, my portfolio is now worth tens of millions of pounds. I've got multiple businesses that are very successful. Property investment, business owner. But perhaps the most important qualification is I happen to have 6 lovely children. My oldest 2 are in their 30s. I've then got 2 in their 20s, and then I've got a couple of teenagers. The common denominator that runs through all of them, obviously, is I love all of them, I'm very proud of them, and I'm spectacularly impressed by the things that they've done, and I like to think I've maybe played a small part in what they've managed to achieve. So if I just go from oldest to youngest, Becky, she's in her early 30s, got her own business, has never worked for anybody else, and she and her husband Kenny bought their first property when Becky was just 23. And you might be thinking, oh, well, that was quite a lucky pull, well done. Good luck on that one. Well, Jack, who is 31, as I record this, also married, also provided us with a fabulous little grandchild. He bought his first property when he was 20 years old. He runs a company based in Canada, and it turns over way more than 10 million. So very successful business owner. Number 3 is Ben. He's 23 now. He bought his first property when he was 21. He also has his own business. So the common thread, I suppose you could say, between the 3 oldest children, and this might be a little bit controversial, is that they didn't go to university, but they did go on to become property owners very young and to become, financially very successful. The other fabulous thing is that all 3 of them are in relationships, and 2 of the 3 of them have even got children, which is great. When most parents are bringing up children, the success is defined for you as a parent by whether your children were good enough to go to university or not. I'm not anti-university. I've got a first degree, I've got an MBA. But what I am anti, and maybe this is the first piece of advice, is forcing young adults to go to university because of your expectations as a parent. And I really want you to think hard, if you want little Jimmy or little Sarah or whatever to go to university, really? Is it because they want to go? Or is it because you want them to go? Because you have then been a successful parent. Even if your parents are somehow, pressurizing you to go, I want you to go if it's right for you and you want to do it. Now, I know that's easier said than done, especially when, some parents can be very controlling. But I want to further illustrate the point that I'm not anti-university. Because my 21-year-old, Lydia, is at university and she's doing very well. And the route that she's chosen is, I guess you would say, more academic perhaps than some of the others who are more business focused. But it is fascinating, just to let you know, a few Christmases ago now, I spent 4 hours talking to her about the ins and outs of her using a 100% student mortgage. It's possible as a student to get a 100% student mortgage with no deposit. And what I was talking to her about is was she interested in letting the other 2 rooms out? And she said no. So what do you mean no? She said there'd be too much pressure, too much stress, it's money, it's mortgages, it's whatever, I'm too young, I don't want all that. Right, okay, I didn't perceive it to be my role as a father to bash the hell out of her and say, well, I'm telling you, get this flat. No, she don't want a flat. It's up to her, isn't it? I believe that your first responsibility as a 20-year-old is to be responsible for yourself. You've now grown up. By all means, take advice from your loved ones, from your father, from your mother, from whoever. You need to decide, what are you gonna do? Then if I come down to my 2 teenagers, Jenny, who's 16, what she's done over the years is she's built up a nice little portfolio of crypto. So she's very educationally focused. I wouldn't be at all surprised if she didn't up in university as well. She probably will. She's talking about maybe being a lawyer or something. But in the background, she's got a second stream of income called crypto. Now, I'll come back to crypto shortly. And just to finish with number 6, the little man, who ain't that little anymore, a 13-year-old who's now 5'10", they're getting bigger and bigger and bigger. He bought his first house when he was 12. Videos on this channel about that. And he was inspired by Warren Buffett, because Warren Buffett said, famously, I wasted my life till I was 11, because I didn't make my first investment till I was 12. So Jude also made his first investment when he was 12. I'm not saying he's going to be the next Warren Buffett. It's not impossible. He might end up in university, but my gut feel is he probably won't. So my first and strongest piece of advice is be responsible for your own life. Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about here is mindset and expectations. Because we live in the sort of crypto instant gratification generation, don't we? I just want to challenge you on that. Because yeah, as a 20-year-old, if you're pinning your hopes on Bitcoin going to $1 million anytime soon, or whatever it is, if it happens, great. If it doesn't happen, what's your plan? Ultimately, whether you've heard this before or not, I don't know, but it is so true, you might want to write it down. To fail to plan is to plan to fail. You have to have a life plan. Now you're sat there at 20. If by the age of 40 you're a millionaire, if that's your aspiration, you've just joined the top 3% of the UK or the top 1% of the planet. If you do that by the time you're 40, that's fantastic. So to do it over a 20-year period is very, very laudable. It's brilliant. Well done you. To expect to do it over the next 6 to 9 months because you just bunged a few quid on crypto, really? But I also want to investigate a happiness perspective. Do we all need necessarily to have millions and millions of pounds? I want millions and millions of pounds, but I'm way past the point that I could spend it all on myself. I've got a bigger vision, and I believe that we all do things for 2 reasons. And only 2 reasons. One is lifestyle, because you want a nice car, you want a nice watch, you want a nice holiday, you want to get something for your dad, you want to give something to charity, you want some money for something you want to do now. The other reason is legacy. And I'm really, really focused on legacy. As I said, a long time ago, I got past the point where I need more for me. What I want to see is I want to see Touchstone Education as a fully fledged business school offering financial advice that you can't get anywhere else in the world and educating people on how to be wealthy. And I want it to be on university scale. You might want a lifestyle where you don't have to work, you've got no stress, and you've got 168 hours a week, 7 by 24, to do whatever you want to do. Okay, so the general advice that I'm suggesting that you take on board, or at least think about, is number 1, be responsible for yourself. Don't start blaming other people for when it all goes wrong. Number 2, have a plan, and make sure that plan isn't reliant on some crazy overnight success that probably won't happen. Putting 2 quid on a lucky dip is not guaranteed to make you a lottery millionaire this time next week, is it? And number 3, really think deeply and evaluate what you want your life to be like. Let's get specific. I want to give you 5 specific pieces of advice. So here we go with number 1. This is a fabulous guy called Jim Rohn, and he famously said, and I think it's so true, formal education will make you a living. Self-education will make you a fortune. So if you invest some of your income in self-education, self-development, business startup, entrepreneur, all that kind of stuff, property, and it could be as simple with starting with a YouTube video or a podcast or a book. So I'm not talking about necessarily spending a fortune, but I would set you this challenge. This is what I do every year. I take 10% of my income, and I've got to tell you that's not an insubstantial sum now, and I invest it in self-education. I go and find the best people on the planet to do whatever it is that I'm trying to do. Self-education will make you a fortune. So number 2, do what others don't, so you will have what others won't. People with a poor mindset watch 20 hours of TV a week. Successful people, millionaires, billionaires, they spend 15 hours a week on self-development. So they're not sat down on the couch with a bottle of wine, tucked up, watching The Witcher. What they're doing is reading books. And where Einstein says we all get to when we've done that enough, Einstein says there comes a point in your life when you need to stop reading books and you need to start writing books. What is it inside you that you've got to give to the universe? So I've written a number of books now, and before I did, I was really daunted by that. So my challenge to you is to do what others don't so you can have what others won't. Okay, number 3, whatever you're doing, start young. So a good friend of mine, Jonathan Burlean, bought his first property when he was 15. I bought my first property when I was 18. Jude bought his first property when he was 12. Jack bought his first property when he was 20. Ben when he was 21. Becky when she was 23. So, don't be depressed if you're watching this and you're really old. You're like 32 or something. It's never too late to start, but the best time to start is today. Because Warren Buffett says, famously, we can all do anything today or tomorrow. But if you keep telling yourself you're going to do it tomorrow, it means this. It means you're not going to do it. If you are serious about becoming wealthy, especially wealthy through property, you need to start now. When I bought my first property, 269A Roman Road, I bought it for £9,000. It's currently worth about £250,000. The first one leads to everything else because it does two things. It proves you're serious because you've done it, but it also provides the mechanism where you can build a portfolio because you've got one. So the best time to start, you could argue like I did, was 40 years ago. The second best time to start is today. Number 4, your network is your net worth. Write down the names of the 5 people you hang around with the most. So it could be work, it could be college, it could be family, it could be whatever. Just who are the 5 people in the world you spend the most time with? And then next to their names, I want you to leave space for 2 numbers. And in the first column, I want you to put down on a scale of 0 to 10, 0 being negative and 10 being positive, how negative or positive they are. Then in the next column, these have got to be whole numbers, not fractions, not decimals, not aspirations, not one day, but actual current wealth. How many million are they worth? You're 20. Does that mean you have to hang around with other 20-year-olds? Do you want to be wealthy? If you do, how about you go find a few wealthy people? Why are you hanging around with the people you're hanging around with? My bet is you've never really thought about it. You went to school with them, you're at university with them, you work with them. Why does that mean you need to spend your entire waking life with them? Which clubs, societies, networks could you join? Do you like golf? Quite a few wealthy people play golf. You interested in flying? You interested in boating? I don't know too many people that own boats that aren't millionaires. And if you're not currently hanging around with the people you should be hanging around with to achieve that objective, guess what you should do? You should take responsibility for your own life. Okay, number 5. We talked about money, personal responsibility, lifestyle, and all the rest of it. How about have a little fun? Things you want to do before you die. Paul, I'm 20, I'm never going to die. Well, you are. I used to be mad enough, and I used to say, I didn't even know I was saying it. And I'd be stood up in front of 50 people, or 200 people, 300 people, and I would say something like this. You know, pensions are really important. I'd be talking about money or something like that. And I used to say, if I die. What? You are going to die, sunshine. Life's a dangerous place. I'll tell you how dangerous it is. You ain't getting out of here alive. That's for sure. Where I'm taking you here is please write a bucket list. And don't have a bucket list of stuff that you're going to do when you're 50 or 60 or 70. Have a bucket list and start doing it now. Why am I telling you that? Well, I'll give you an example. I used to do a lot of venture scouting because I love climbing mountains. We used to go for maybe 2 weeks to France, climb up mountains in the Pyrenees, Pic de Touchstone, whatever. Then we always used to go down south of France and lie about on beaches and, you know, do the things that normal boys do on beaches. So I'm thinking about my mates in the venture scout. We did all the scouting stuff. We were a group of mountaineers. So we'd go maybe 2 weeks holiday. We'd maybe go for a week to the Pyrenees, climb mountains like Pic de Touchstone, whatever, and then take a second week down in the south of France on the beach. A pretty attractive couple of weeks for an 18 or 20-year-old. I would say, I loved it. And I'm thinking about people that I was with during those times, and they were typically massive achievers. They've gone on to do incredible things because our motto, our unit motto, was primus vincit, which means the first wins. We were so competitive at everything we did. And I'm thinking of one of my mates from back in those days, a guy called Andy. He went on to do marine biology, and he did a master's in it, and then he did a PhD in it. By the time he was 28, he still hadn't left university because he was still studying, doing his doctorate and everything. And I remember one trip he made, he went down to the Barrier Reef in Australia, and he was getting paid to do some research on something. I don't really know. I'm an engineer, not a marine biologist. And on his way back to the UK, he went via Singapore. And in Singapore, Andy being Andy, straight in the water, splash, investigating, whatever, swimming up down some local river. And he got a bug. And that bug put him in intensive care within 24 hours. 24 hours later, parents got to him. 4 or 5 hours after that, he was dead. Fit, strong, healthy, ambitious 28-year-old. How do you know how many days you got left? One day is going to be your last day. I want you to work simultaneously on being your own person, becoming wealthy, achieving your dreams and ambitions, but also enjoying yourself. Because otherwise, what's the point? So put down whatever you want to put down on that bucket list and then work on ticking them off. Okay, so I hope you find value there. Hope it's of interest. Your next steps, if you want to become wealthy through property, is to come along and spend 2 days with me and the team at Wealth Through Property. We get people of all ages there. We get people as young as 12, 13. We get people in their 80s. But I have to say the majority of people are in their 20s and 30s. So if you fancy spending 2 days with me and the team, learning how to be wealthy through property, now you can live your dream life and tick all those things off your bucket list, click on the link below and I'll see you online at Wealth Through Property for 2 days of live training to get you started. As always, you've been wonderful. I've been Paul. See you next time.